Hello my bookhos, thank you so much for being here. We are going to do more embroidery stuff today. Hello and welcome to Bookhoarding by Bianca. I'm Bianca. Today I'm going to do a very quick little tutorial on how to set up your hoop. And it starts with just, the basics of wrapping it with some fabric and then setting it up and different setups that I have. I hope that this is a helpful little quick embroidery video series. Again, this was voted on by my patrons, so if you are interested in kind of dictating sometimes the little content bubbles that I have within my schedule, you can join my Patreon and you can be part of that. You also get early access to all my content. It's just fun. You get access to a Discord server where you can see the things that I'm working on this week and other things. Check it out. The link is in my description, and you can also leave me a tip on Ko-fi if you cannot join my Patreon. So you're going to take your hoop, and you can see that there's two pieces. You're going to want some bias tape of some kind. I just used some white stuff that I had, and you're going to want some clippies or some pins. So you start by wrapping the inside of this. Think about too where you're going to want for the inside and outside hoop, where you're going to want the carryover to be, because that's going to be where you sew. So obviously for the inside hoop, you're going to want that to be on the inside of it, because that's where the fabric won't be, like your piece won't be stretched through the inside, right? You'll want that outside smooth. So with bias tape, you can just do fun things like wrap it at an angle. It goes by not this fast, I will tell you. The magic of cinema. We're here, and so at the end, and you want to keep this taut as you're doing this too. I'm just going to wrap it one more time over that first part that we started. Leave a little bit at the end to fold under. Ignore my fabric. Which, like, confession, I actually didn't cut that as a bio strip. I just took a strip. I got 1 inch strip, maybe 1.5. So take that for what you will. So you can see there that I'm holding that little part that overlays, and I fold it under the raw edge. And now I'm just going to sew that down. So I pinned it in place so I could easily come back to it. And then you're just going to thread your needle, and you're going to use your favorite catch stitch. The biggest thing is, like, no one's going to see this. This stitch does not matter. You are just going in here and securing this. And again, like, if you wrap this pretty nicely, pretty tightly, so like the fabric isn't going to shift a ton, like that's the goal, right? And the whole goal of this, if you missed my previous video, I talked about how wrapping your hoop is a way to keep your fabric piece in place and keep it taut while you're working on it. Some people will tell you that you should take your fabric piece off of the hoops like when you walk away from your project, like every night or whatever, like between workings on it. You can do that, I guess, if you want. If it's a really delicate fabric, you probably do want to do that and not just keep it on there for a long time, because it probably will over time stretch out really delicate things, and probably certain weaves. But if you are just putting together something like I am for like a kind of, here's my thing that I do while I watch TV during the summer, or I take on my vacation with me, then this is, a thing that you can just pop in your bag and take out. But you can see here I am just doing basic little stitches that are catching that folded over edge, and I hid the knot. And you'll find that, like, maneuvering around a hoop is an interesting endeavor. It's extra hard too when you're trying to make sure the camera actually gets a decent enough angle of what you're working on. But yeah, you just do what you want there to catch it and make sure it's secure. And you can use, other colors. I used a basic cotton. I'd say you probably don't use any kind of polyester. Anything that's like really slick. I used a basic little cotton that I had, and I think it worked pretty nicely because it's not super heavy, it's not super light, and it'll do the job. So once you have finished the inside hoop, now let's go to the outside hoop. And there is a spacer there, so you obviously want to start from the outside of the hoop because that's not going to be touching your fabric that you're working off of. And you'll do the same thing. only this time you're going to be securing it in 2 places instead of just 1. So you can see here I put clips at the beginning and end, and again you're wrapping that pretty tautly. And I'm just going to fold under until I get it where I like it. You can see here I'm like, it's kind of okay. Yeah, it's pretty good. Because you want that overlap that you're sewing to be on the outside, because the fabric is not going to be taut over the outside of it, if that makes sense. I hope it does. Anyway, so I use my little clippies to hold that in place, and then I do the same thing, where I just do a very basic catching stitch of some kind. I hide the knot, and then I just go over it, and yeah. Again, I think this also only really will work on like a wooden hoop. I've seen like plastic ones out there. I don't feel like this will probably work as easily on that. I feel like you might need help with like double-sided tape or something on that, because I feel like a plastic hoop would be really sticky or slippery, sorry, right? So you need to make it stick in some way. I don't know. This is just me trying to give advice. And like the other thing that I will say is that I've seen people who just wrap the inner hoop and not the outer hoop, and that's totally okay too. This is just me sharing things that I've learned that I feel like are helpful and have made my practice a little bit neater and a little bit nicer. You don't have to do it. This is just a personal like pro tip preference thing I've learned. So yeah, this is me sharing it, because we shouldn't keep knowledge behind paywalls, right? Yeah, look at that. I don't really care that it sticks out a little bit, because you know, no one's gonna see it but me. So there you go. You have your hoops. It should make it easier to get your fabric in there. Yeah, it's an afternoon's work, because you have to do the bias tape and then wrap it, and it's kind of annoying. And then if you forgot how to frame your piece, this is just a clip from my last video, but I will show it again, just in case you didn't stumble upon that and you came here by other means. So you're going to pretend that I haven't started that embroidery there, and you're just going to lay that flat over the inner hoop, and then you're going to put the outer hoop over it. You want to obviously loosen the outer hoop. Make sure there's some space there. Yeah, loosen that. Sometimes you need to use like a little screwdriver, or I use like my jewelry plier sometimes, but you're going to want to make sure that is all taut on the surface, that fabric. And then you'll start tightening that screw, and then you will start pulling the fabric taut, because you want that to be not like stretched. Obviously, like if you're using knit, you're not going to do this. Any kind of fabric with stretch, you wouldn't stretch it out in this way. But what you're looking for a woven fabric and non-stretch fabric is just to have that surface be very taut, so that while you're working on it, everything can lay flat and look nice and be sharp. And then you'll tighten it, and you'll pull on the back of the fabric a little bit more. Obviously, if you're working with a very delicate fabric, you would be gentler on it. And I have an upcoming video on backing silk and using silk, which hopefully is helpful to folks. But yeah, this is just the process for doing that. You're just going to pull and make sure there's no wrinkles on the facing of that. And make sure the hoop is in place. And this would be easier if I was using my wrapped hoop, but I just wanted to be thorough in this tutorial in case someone missed my previous one, because that's the way that YouTube serves up videos sometimes, you know? So yeah, I feel like once I can like tap that and I feel like it's I'm confident in it, I can move on. Now here are some of the ways that I use my hoop. This is a little lap stand, and you can see here, this is the top. This is where you're going to adjust to clamp onto the hoop, and then this is the place that you adjust the length of the little stand and how you're working on it. So you're going to take your hoop, and this is my gold work kit that I'm working through, my sampler from a correspondence class I'm taking from the Royal School of Needlework, and you're just going to pop it on there. This is very hard to film. I'm so sorry about this. And you're just going to tighten that main wooden thing. Actually, theoretically, you would you'd put that metal one out a little bit too, so it's not just like this weird like V-shaped opening. It's a little flatter there and more secure. But for the purposes of this very fast tutorial, this is what you're getting. And then I just put that little stand in there, and then you can see here that you adjust the position then of that embroidery hoop for however you're setting. And so this is how you would use a lap thing. So you would sit in a chair, or
you know, however you're sitting, whatever's comfortable. You would put that little paddle thing under your leg, and then you would fix the height of that with that long piece, and then you'd work off of there. And obviously, you can change the angle of the thing that you're working on, but that's pretty much how you work that. So yeah, there's the angle change, and it's just there where you're working. Now, I also do this where I take this out of the little pre-made wooden thing, and I use these C-clamps on tabletops, and I can pretty much do the same thing. And this is, I think, more versatile than the lap thing because I sometimes attach it to other things.
All right, well, I hope that was really helpful for everybody. Again, this is just like one person's perspective. This isn't like there's not a one universal right to how to do all of this. I just want to share things that I've learned from taking a couple of classes and from doing this for a minute. And yeah, if you have any tips or best practices around embroidery setup or tools or anything like that that you'd like to share, just share in the comments, please. I'd love to hear them. And again, thank you so much, patrons. You're the ones who make this happen. Thank you for supporting this, supporting me doing all the costumey craft things. And yeah, if you are interested in joining my Patreon or leaving me a tip on coffee, the links are in my description. Thank you so much for joining me, and don't forget to make it so.